Hey, it's me Roland, and this is Bilingual Analytics, where I help you to learn more about Microsoft Power BI. Today's video is an addition to the Data Source Connectors series, where I try to find the best possible data source to use, both from a performance perspective and from a business continuity point of view. These are the connectors I have covered so far. Make sure to watch them all, or at least the ones that could be relevant to you. I added a link to that playlist to the top right corner above. A regular viewer reached out to me after I posted the last episode about data flows, and she asked a great question. She doesn't have the option to use any of the connectors that I talked about due to some internal IT security and data governance reasons, so the only option for her is to use Excel imports. But she wasn't sure which file type should provide the quickest refresh times. Should it be XLSX or CSV? Honestly, I have never really thought about that before. For some reason, I just assumed that there are no differences whatsoever. But after mocking around a bit and testing, I had to realize that I was wrong. So thanks for the email, Elena. Your question prompted this video. For all other viewers, I would suggest to either comment below the relevant video if you have any questions, or follow Bilingual Analytics on Twitter and LinkedIn. These are the best ways to get in touch with me or ask a question about Power BI. In return, all I ask is to hit the like and subscribe buttons below this video. It helps me to grow, but more importantly, helps others to find helpful content on Power BI. So don't be shy, just click on them. While I'm still going to use Phil Seamark's Visualize Your Power BI Refresh report to measure refresh speed, in this video I'm not going to talk about business continuity. Reason behind it is pretty simple. There are no changes to data availability just by swapping XLX files to CSV files. Same thing goes for efforts to make the transition. If you decide to start with CSV files, there is no need to change anything, and if you start from XLSX files, you can use Excel to easily convert them to CSV. With all of that cleared up, we can head over to my PC to see what kind of a difference a CSV file makes. I'm using a star or snowflake schema because I know that the most important thing to optimize when it comes to refresh times and report speed is the data model itself. The data model is going to remain the same for both XLSX and CSV options to ensure consistency when it comes to the number of records and relationships in the report. In this file, I'm picking up Excel files from my local C drive for the dimension tables and using a folder as a source for my fact sales table. The only reason why I chose to test this using my local drive is to save some time at my end. However, you will see that apart from the raw data file types, everything else remains the same. So you should expect to see similar results irrelevant of the location of the file. Following Phil blog post, I was able to trace report refresh timings for this Power BI report connected to Excel files. What you see right now on the screen is the result. Managed to refresh the report within 40 seconds, my fact table taking the most time from the refresh. Have a look at the number of rows imported per second. It was around 34,000 for the fact sales table. With that, we have a solid baseline. Using XLSX files, I managed to import a bit more than 1 million records in 40 seconds. The only connector that managed to get better results was SQL Data Source, but as I said before, for some report creators, it is not an option to use. So let's have a quick look at the CSV imports and the refresh speed I was able to achieve there. Allow me to quickly show you what I have done to convert my XLSX files to CSV. I had to start with this step as my starting point was XLSX. I opened the blank Excel report, headed over to Data on the ribbon and clicked on Get Data. Here I chose Get Data from folder and using Power Query in Excel, imported all of my XLSX files. Then filtered them down by year to limit the number of rows in each CSV file, and then just simply save the combine export as a CSV extension. Surprisingly, the original folder size was around 110 megabytes, while the CSV folder is around 140 megabytes. So I assumed CSV import will be slower. I believe at this stage it seemed like an educated guess, as I'm a bit lazy and because I knew that my fact table is taking the most time to refresh, I only converted the transactional files and the customer table to CSV. I left all other dimension tables in XLSX format. While I know it's not ideal, believe me, converting them to CSV as well wouldn't make significant changes. But enough of that, let's see our PBIX file. We still have the star schema, and if we have a look at what's going on under the hood in Power Query, you will find that the sample file I used is now a CSV document, just like the customer's query. For both of those, the first line of M-code reveals that csv.document_bit. Now it's time to refresh the data and measure speed. And BAM! In my face, I guess. It only took 25 seconds to refresh the same, roughly 1.1 million records by using CSV files as my fact table source data types. From 34,000 rows per second, we jumped up to 64,000 rows per second. This result is super close to a SQL data source, which is mind-blowing for me. Alright, so what can I say about this video to wrap up? First of all, I'm surprised. As I mentioned before, I never really thought about that Excel file types could be a factor in refresh speed. I'm glad that Elena asked this question, because now I can say that I learned something new as well. Secondly, as soon as I saw these results, I started to Google what's going on here, trying to make some sense out of it. The only thing that I was able to find in such a short time frame was Chris Webb's blog from 2018, where he talks about this topic. You can find the link to his blog post in the description below. However, I still couldn't find any explanation on why. What makes CSV files significantly quicker than XLSX files? Is it just the formatting? Or I should rather say the lack of formatting. If you have any answers to those questions, please make sure to add to the comment section below, so we can all learn from that. Now all I have left is to ask the question of the day. Do you use XLSX or CSV file as your data types when it comes to importing files to Power BI? Let me know in the comment section below, along with any other questions that you have after watching this video. I try to answer all of them as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope that all of it made sense and you learned something new today. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on your way out or before you watch any of the above tutorials. Until the next one, see ya!